Well, thank you very much for joining us. This is Newspaper Review. I am Moses Humphrey.
And I am Chukwuma Okoro. Thanks for joining us again.
And yes, of course, we still have Dele Fanimo. He stays back, public affairs commentator. Thank you very much for staying back.
Pleasure.
And joining us virtually, Comrade Destiny Anabulele. We've been able to reconnect to Comrade Destiny Anabulele. He joins the conversation from Benin. And Chijoke Orji also joins us. Chijoke, good morning to you. Good to have you join the conversation. Okay. Now, be aware that it's an open conversation, so everyone with views can chime in. Well, let's dive into it. The Guardian newspaper is up on our table. We do have some other dailies as well. Well, these are the headlines on the cover page of The Guardian. The window headlines: Why I Remain in LP After Obi'S Exit by Datti. Of course, there are riders to that, and we'll get to the riders in a bit. Well, the riders to that one: PDP plans to see Obi Atiku. PDP plans to see Obi Atiku, says Ogidi. Obedient Movement says crisis reading PDP can't woo Obi. All right. Malami, court grants interim forfeiture of 57 properties worth 213.2 billion naira. FG Nans disagree on abandoned students in Morocco. Supreme Court verdict. 19 months after, governors explore gaps in constitution, resist LG autonomy, and Nayeti Allah Beram youths differ on latest plateau attacks. Fresh blow for Nigerians as US begins $15,000 visa bond. New tax laws undermine tax system. Democracy, NLC warns FG. Police bust child trafficking syndicate in Anambra, rescue 33 girls. Kaduna farmers seek FG's help over 10.16 billion naira 2025 loss. And 2027, ADC inaugurates mobilization, registration, revalidation committee. Well, these are the headlines, gentlemen.
Well, I want to chime in on the Malami issue.
57 houses.
57 houses.
Spread across Nigeria.
Now, when
Sons and wife.
When you consider the preponderance of forfeiture, accumulation of wealth by public service and politically exposed people, you wonder, is it that our resources in this country is so infinite that we absorb some of these massive rapacious stealings? We hear this thing almost like a repeated music on air. We are just smarting from Emefiele's
753
753, duplexes. Now
almost completed.
Yeah. Now we are now faced with another 213. Don't forget that this particular Malami bought over 60 SUVs and distributed to emirs and sheikh around his state. Now, when you put all this together and the flamboyant life he lived while in government and the flamboyant life Emefiele lived while in government, then you know that when Datti Ahmed said, if worker salaries are increased by 4 times the current rate that Nigeria can absorb, you will not want to doubt him. How could somebody who was not known to be in the league of Afefe Balola, Olanipekun, and the rest, before he became Attorney General of the Federation, amass this kind of stupendous wealth in that office, not as Minister of Finance,
yes, because
not as CBN governor.
All of it is said to be.
So you can now imagine
when he was
if he was in that office, Finance Ministry, what he would have acquired. Probably we'll be talking about trillions of naira. And this economy can absorb all this. Putting his son, 29-year-old son, as MD, chief executive of all these companies. Within how many years? 8 years of his stay in the Buhari's government. And this is why some of these politically exposed people do anticipatory declaration of assets. They imagine what they... I'm sure Malami wouldn't have imagined that he would have acquired so much. Probably he would have declared over 2 trillion assets while coming into office.
Okay.
A governor in the northwest, when he was to be sworn in, he came up with about 1.3 trillion assets declaration, which is, to me, anticipatory declaration
of assets.
in preparation for what is likely
what he would loot
to come in. So, what should bother us is not this forfeiture, because no matter how big this forfeiture is, you will find out that it is just a minute and negligent fraction of what this particular person had been exposed to. We have not talked about is, for somebody to acquire this within Nigeria, you can be sure that
you would
have saved some outside this country.
Yes, in case these ones are captured. Now, to answer your question directly, whether the resources are infinitesimal, I will say yes and no. Yes, to the extent that the amount of wealth that we have in Nigeria, it's able to take care of, even if our population was 500 million naira. 500 million people. You see, the thing about naira is, I'm even speaking about naira. And I once said that if I get into government, I will be as clean, as a play that was just watched. Now, that said, I think this speaks to what we call elite consensus in Nigeria. No matter the level of our fragmentation, no matter the level of disintegration within the polity, it's more like cosmetic, because that elite consensus is always there. They're always united at the top.
Yeah.
And that is why it is difficult for us to fight corruption, clearly. Now, if you go back from 1999 up until 2026, from the presidency to the least minister, talking about the Minister of State, who will you exempt? Under Obasanjo, hardly can you. Under Obasanjo, you have a certain sum of money for the power sector that up until today, we are still...
What about national ID card?
Good. Sunday, Afolabi and all of them. So, from the presidency up until under Jonathan, we had what Diziani Alison Madeke did, and we are still receiving, monies recovered from her. I don't even want to talk about Abacha.
No, that one is...
Now, so, it speaks to the elite consensus that we have in this country. Who is going to probe who? Who is going to recover from who? So, they use these people, they use us as pawns, and you now discover that the ones that stray, they try to beat others back into line. See, if you don't come in, this is likely to happen to you. Why? We are hearing all of this about Malami because now he declared for the ADC and wants to be governor of his state. And they say, no, you can't take all of this money and dump it in the ADC. It should be in a particular political party and a particular system so that it will help us in 2027. How about Hadi Sereki and all of this? So this forfeiture of a thing doesn't even solve our problem.
It doesn't.
And our problem will not be solved until such a time that we have that selfless leader who will come out and say, look, my cupboard is clean, no skeleton. I am clean. If I come after you, come after me. Until we have such a person, that is the only time we will say, look, we have corruption under our feet and we are fighting it. Until we do that, until we have that kind of person, we'll just be doing is this approach here and there.
Source of
it's
worry.
not going to solve our problem.
Another source of worry here is today nobody remembers Emefiele again, except for people like us. Nobody. We have forgotten him.
No, maybe until his case comes up.
Comes up again.
Sometime by the end of January.
This Malami's case had subsumed Yahya Bello's case. If not for the fact that he said he was going to contest as a senator.
As a senator.
That's when we recall what has been done at the state pending in court. So, and as long as there is no punishment for infraction, you will still see thousands of Malami, thousands of Emefiele, thousands of Beta Edu, thousands of,
We don't punish small crimes. That is why the big ones
of course
thrive in society.
Yes. So that's my worry.
Look at 200 213 billion naira. You know what that means? Yesterday, Moses did a bit of a calculation that if you are giving 1 trillion naira, were you on the show?
I was on the show.
You were on the show. If you are giving 1 trillion naira,
you are mandated.
You are mandated to spend 1 million naira every day.
Every day.
Every day. It will take you 2,713 years.
So you would have lived your life more than 15, 20 times over
and over.
For you to be able to spend it.
What is 15, 20 times? We're talking about 100 times.
This is before the days of Jesus. If you have believed before the days of Jesus up until now.
Didn't live up to 1,000 years.
Even said that Methuselah didn't live up to
1,000 years.
He's our Bible scholar. So up to 1,000 years. So it speaks to...
But another thing is, let's interrogate the psychology of all this. What is the motivation for this rapacious stealing?
In society.
Because you now find out that
The society is the motivation.
Society is the motivation. I agree with you. Now let me explain this. If there is outright rejection, there was a time when somebody like me was growing up, and you dare not leave the village and come back in 1 year with a car. Your father will instantly, publicly disown you until you are able to explain how you got that car. But today, look at a sitting senator said, if you have to steal, make sure you steal more than enough, so that now you have that pride that you have stolen. No. And then you can negotiate.
Yes, 1 trillion naira. Ali Ndume, to be very precise.
Yes, Ali Ndume. I didn't want to mention his name.
I've mentioned his name.
Yes,
He's on record. He's on record.
Yes. That. Now, for such a person, what that means is you need to have money to chase clouds. And you need validation from the society. If the society frowns at your sudden wealth, you won't have the courage to steal as much as this. But emirs took those cars, Malami gave, sheikhs took, religious leaders took.
Without asking questions.
Without asking questions. So it's a clear motivation for further stealing. What are you going to expect from this kind of person
and
if he becomes the governor of Kebbi?
These vehicles were double-digit million naira.
Of course.
Vehicles.
We're talking about between 120 and 150 million naira apiece.
Not even double-digit, three digit.
Yes.
You know?
All right. Let's bring Comrade Destiny into this conversation. Comrade, what are your thoughts on this one? All right, then. We've not established.
So, but why I say it's society, that pulls us into all of these things. There was a time, like you said, growing up, if a young man goes to town and he comes back, with a vehicle, kingsmen will call him and ask you, how did this happen? And he will need to offer explanation.
Credible.
On this table, there was a story someone told. I can't recall who told that story. A certain young man, went to do apprenticeship with his boss, and after 2 years, he came back with a vehicle. And when he came back, his father said, has your Oga settled you?
He said no.
He said no. So how
did you come about
And
this?
the mother was like, leave my son alone and please leave my son. Others are doing it. And 2 days later, the boss came back and said they discovered that his son had stolen, that boy, his apprentice had stolen so much amount of money. And now when the guy cited his boss, he knew, like he would say, alarm don't blow, So he had to run away. And the father called the mother and said, where is your son? The woman kept short, So in those days, if you come back, they don't get a chieftaincy title.
No.
If your source of income is unknown.
Yes.
But now they will even beg you
to
come and take it. So society helps us in all of these things until we go back to our African values, because we have clearly lost those values. Until we go back to those values where wealth is determined by sincerity, how did you make your money and all of that. And somehow I think that politicians are also part of the problem, because when they get into government, instead of helping solve basic problems, providing
they resort to
palliatives, one-off palliatives, it doesn't help solve our problem. If you have a young man who has a skill, and instead of you setting him up, when you come back, you give him 50,000 naira.
You even buy a motorbike. He abandons his trade,
the skill that he has acquired. So it's all in the mix of the society taking responsibility, government taking responsibility, and it all boils down to a clear failure of leadership.
Yes.
If we have a leadership that reorientates us towards our African values of honesty, decency, I think we'll do better.
Before you can reorientate, you must lead by example.
It will be it's a very tough call because you have to clean the urgent table.
Exactly.
And it's going to take a very long while.
But the point is, it's doable.
It's doable.
Somebody will come around one day and decide to kiss the bullet for the people, and it will happen.
Okay, now let's talk about the U.S.-Nigeria issue. I mean, it's when we heard that for a lot of us, when we heard that Nigeria was collaborating with the U.S. to fight insecurity in Nigeria, you felt, okay, this collaboration will, give us further better grounds in terms of
bilateral relations.
Thank you very much, and the rest. But it doesn't seem to be the case because the slams, the bans, the visa ban and restrictions did not abate. They didn't go away. They're still there. In fact, today's headline: fresh blow for Nigerians as United States begin $15,000 visa bond. Makes it even more difficult for Nigerians seeking the B1, B2 visas to go into the US. I know your opinion. Stay in your country.
My opinions are very many as far as this issue is concerned.
Okay. Well, let's not talk about stay in your country and better your country.
No, you have to stay. You have to stay.
Wait, Moses, I was also going through that through that route.
Okay.
Now the point is, the moment Trump visited Xi of China, and there was a brief on the enormous resources that China is exploiting from Nigeria. That was the game changer. That was when Trump started focusing on Nigeria. This terrorism thing, just like look at Venezuela. For the optics, people will assume that Trump was trying to save Venezuela. But no. He was just trying to recoup what they lost some years back. Now, if Trump had been adequately briefed that what we are sitting atop here in Nigeria is more than tenfold compared to what America rely on to shore up its economy, what then will come to your mind? If we have to have a reversal of role, if you are an American and you are talking to me as a Nigerian, the question you say, this man is so wealthy but poor. Then why should he come and disturb me in my homestead? Stay in your homestead, fix everything. Now the bond is just about, please, if you are not buoyant enough to take care of your shenanigans when you get to America, we have had enough of keeping you in our prisons. Stay back home. And somebody who has $15,000 bond, which is about 22 million naira, that person is buoyant enough. So if he's thrown back after misbehaving in America, there's something to hold on to. So it's just like a collateral for coming to visit their country. And must you visit their country? It's not compulsory. Stay back at home. There are some people that are successful in Nigeria that have never entered Murtala Mohammed Airport or Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport.
Politicians, you mean? Politicians, you mean?
I said some Nigerians.
Politicians.
Well. Even some Nigerians that are not politicians, they still make ends meet and they are still successful in their own right. So why must everybody jet out to America? So the man is just trying to dissuade you and say, stay back, do your business, whatever you want to do in America, fix Nigeria. Okay, how would a Trump, if you are to be in the shoes of Trump, how will you imagine 213 billion in one person's hands? Which is enough to build 2 first-class hospitals in each of the geopolitical zones. Because you don't need more than between 10 and 15 billion to build a world-class hospital, well-equipped. So if 12 world-class hospitals are in somebody's pocket, the 753 duplexes When it translates to, at that time, the average cost was put at 200 million naira. Now multiplied by 753. That is enough to fix internal rates in Delta, Edo, Anambra, and adjoining contiguous states. So what are we talking about? So these are the things that these people are looking at. That you have so much wealth, but 70% of this wealth resides in people's pockets.
Okay. Well, Dele, you have said a lot, but I beg to disagree with quite a few things that you said about, like when you said that America got to know about Chinese involvement in Nigeria because Trump visited Xi in China.
No, it's just to escalate it. He knew all along.
No, exactly the point. America, in terms of gathering intelligence, I'm not sure that anybody can rival the United States. They always have it. I'm talking about going to Venezuela too. Well, I understand the economic interest of United States of America in Venezuelan oil, but let us also know that America has large deposits of oil, the shale oil, and they have been able to compress, to collapse the technology of producing that shale oil. So they have in abundance. Now, I'm speaking about coming or staying back to fix Nigeria. $15,000, you change it, is about 22 million naira. I've always been of the view, like Moses clearly knows, that, look, if you can't go to America, you are in Abia State and you can't go to America, you can come to Lagos, you can go to Akure, you can even go to Ilori, and make a living there. So we all have to stay and fix Nigeria. The Americans that come here, they don't come because they're looking because they're looking for greener pastures or better life. They come here to do business, as expatriates, and go back. The Chinese that come here, they don't come here because they are looking for, they might be looking for business, but as a matter of fact, they come here to do business. So, but when we migrate because this place is too tough. This place is too hectic, I cannot survive and all of that. And our government is not in infrastructure, our government is not helping too, because if the economy is clearly built up, the exchange rate will simply drop.
Definitely.
It will simply drop.
That's the only motivation.
That's the only motivation. So people should stay here. What America is trying to do is what Trump is trying to do to keep tightening the news, so that there could be some form of internal dissent here, so that Nigerians can start to hold their leaders to account. It might get to a point where if they feel that, look, we can't do it by the ballot, they can even organize a dissent here in terms of a conflagration that will enable whoever to come in and do the needful if it becomes necessary. So that is what they are doing. So if you can't travel, you stay here and make Nigeria work. Today, Diabon told us that Nigeria is the only country that we have. So we have to stay back here and make it work. About the issue of insecurity, when Trump came, and dropped that bomb, or when he said he was coming, guns are blazing, I asked that question. Will Trump be able to sustain that drive? And I kept asking until he dropped that bomb in Sokoto State. I was asking that question in light of the fact that as a student of history, as a student of strategic studies, I understand clearly that it is very, very difficult to fight insecurity and insurgency from outside, if not from within. And I asked that question, can anybody tell me since 1945 where America has gone to intervene and came out successful and maintained peace there? I cited Vietnam, I cited Iraq, I cited the recent Afghanistan where they had to cut and run. I cited Somalia, where they got a bloodied nose. I cited the Bay of Pigs, and all of that. America, they never. What they do is, like the policeman of the world that they pretend to be. They go there. Okay, what of Libya? What did they do in Libya? What of Egypt? So, I like the fact that they are intervening.
Their intervention in Iraq.
Yes. Iraq is still split.
It's almost similar to what is happening in Libya.
In Libya. And look at how the Taliban chased them out. So if they are coming here, they have dropped the bomb. And what did that do? The guys have doubled down.
That's it.
Now they struck the other day.
Strategized.
By the time they struck in Oyo State, if they are the ones, which is likely that they are, and when you are going there to look for them, they are in Taraba.
That is it.
And by the time they leave Taraba, they are in Anambra or in Enugu. So how do you coordinate all those efforts? I like the fact that America is coming in, but it shouldn't be in terms of coming because they can't even put boots on the ground. What they should do is to collaborate in terms of intelligence and work on the government to be very intentional and sincere in fighting this thing. If it turns to a guerrilla warfare, it becomes a problem.
Already it
has turned into that guerrilla problem.
Because
they strike. When they strike and hide. You know, it's asymmetric. They don't wear uniforms like the normal. So you don't even know who you are fighting. They are embedded in societies. And it becomes more dangerous when you find them in the city centers. Like a bomb goes off in central Abuja or in central Lagos. So the only way to tackle it is to work with intelligence and take them out from the root. You know, you know what Israel does? Israel goes to identify the cells and take out that cell. When they take out that cell, they start to build. By the time they rebuild, Israel is also following them. That is what we need to do at this point. Because saying that, Trump, where is he going to bomb now?
Most times, they don't even go to the cell. They just pick out
the leader of the cell.
And once you decimate a rank by removing the leader, then it takes time for you to regroup and then bring up.
So we should actually be careful what we wish for. Those that are calling Trump to, Trump, come. In what form and shape is he coming? What is he coming
to do? Because
the
Venezuelan example that you gave, I mean, they basically just took out Maduro and the wife. The vice is there. The cabinets, Maduro's men are still there. Yeah. Now they just went to bury the 100 people that died in that raid. Now they're saying they lost about 100 of them. That in itself will make people, make the international community react differently. In trying to get out the president, you succeeded in killing 100 people that were guarding him. Whether the number is up to that or not, but that's the figure that they put out there.
They could also increase the figure so that to attract international sympathy.
Of course.
So it's not only in Nigeria that we do and see those things happen. It's everywhere.
And then we know that crime, yes, there is crime. Like I said yesterday, the oil, the resources in that country, like we have here in Nigeria, has become a curse.
Of course, yes.
Because the leaders don't use those things to better the lives of the people. So it's been, and then I said this here before, talking about drugs coming into America, and that's part of the reasons, weapons coming into America, and that's part of the reasons they want to, take out Maduro and the rest. A lot of the cocaine that gets into America are getting from Colombia.
And even
Mexico. A lot of meth that get into the United States getting from Mexico. So it's not exactly Venezuela. A lot of weapons coming from Mexico into America.
In international relations, there's what we call...
So it's more about resources,
really. There's what we call idiosyncratic variables. The personal doctrine of the leader also determines,
Indeed,
the shape of America's foreign policy.
Absolutely.
You recall too, Maduro has been, calling Trump's bluff. He said, Trump, I'm waiting for you. Come. And until one day he tapped him on his bed and say, hey, young man, come, let's go. And that was it.
Well, so let's bring it back home. That's what bothers us here. 19 months after, governors explore gaps in constitution, resist LG autonomy, the local government autonomy.
Local government autonomy.
Between
Dele and I don't know who is an expert in local government autonomy.
I would like to start with you.
He's the expert.
Well, you see, it's quite unfortunate that sometimes you assume that people in government are all-knowing. But suddenly you just realize that there are times they fail and disappoint you. The present administration couldn't have pretended not to know that local government autonomy is a constitutional matter that requires a lot of lobby before they went to Supreme Court to get that judgment. And one thing is, either we like it or not, people naturally resist anything that will deflate their ego. That Supreme Court judgment actually deflated the egos of the governors. Because what you did was to say, I don't care about you. I can always lord it over you. And there's no way they will not resist. 2, these governors are major beneficiaries of local governments as appendages of the state. Because most of these governors, they don't steal from state resources. They steal from local government resources. Using pliant local government chairmen that were installed by these governors. Even through electoral process, they are always installed. That's why you have a PPA that went into election in Rivers State within 2 weeks and cleared all the local governments. And show me a particular state that had conducted election in this republic that had failed to at least get 95%. That is to show you that they are just appendages. And what they do is to say this is 400 million naira allocated from the federation account. Take this 100 million naira, go and do whatever you like with it. The rest 300 reside with the state governor. Meanwhile, the local government chairman had signed 400 million. Even the 100 million naira given to the local government chairman, the contractors that will execute projects, if there is any, will be sponsored by the state governor. And what besides that local government chairman that says, no, it will not happen. We have seen examples. A colleague, Wale Adedayo, Obi'S, confronted the state governor and said, no, enough is not, I'm not going to play this game. And it was bloodied. He's still reeling from that crisis. Fashuba in Ekiti State, when he confronted Fayose, he lost his twin brother in the process because they were identical twins. They wanted him out because the man said, I cannot be signing 100 million naira and be collecting 20 million naira. If EFCC comes, how do I defend myself? Already I have signed. And it was the same thing that a former senator, when he was chairman appropriation, came to a particular institute in Ibadan on oversight visit. The professor gave 40 million naira as he was here, parting gift. When the thing became a big problem, ICPC prosecuted him, and he's serving his 9-year jail term in Agodi prison today. So these are issues, and what I would have expected Tinubu as an astute politician to do is to get the buy-in of some of these people, the state governments, before taking this thing to the public domain. And he has challenged. It's just like you are studying the honest of a bee. There's no way it will sting you.
Let me take it up from there. But the president's action of having to bypass the governors and go to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
I've also asked myself this question. People in government, when we take an architectonic stance, as an architect, you have a building, you are standing outside, and you view it. It's different from what the person inside is seeing.
Yes.
So I asked myself that question. Is it that they are bereft of knowledge,
That's
or that they simply know what they are doing? So I came to the conclusion that regarding local government autonomy, I think the president is merely playing politics with it, because he clearly understands that it is a constitutional issue, and that the only way you can change that is by going through the constitution to amend it and remove that power of the State House of Assembly, who are under the terms of the governors, to make laws for the good governance and administration of local government areas. Now, another problem and another contradiction is in the principles of federalism. We have a Supreme Court or a High Court that has come out to say, look, local governments are a third tier of government. No federalism does that. In a federalism, there are only 2 units, the center and the federating states. That's all. Any other thing is an appendage. So, okay, let's say local governments become autonomous now and are third tiers of government. So, what is the responsibility of the governor? Who is the governor governing? Because in each local government, there's another governor. And probably councillors too, in council, in wards, will also become autonomous.
Because they are also making laws for the local government.
So that is the point. Until I ask that question, Why did they quickly run to Supreme Court? And when they went to Supreme Court, you know what the governors did? Governors asked the local government chairmen, their appointees, whether elected or what, they are their appointees, and said, don't open any account with central bank. And central bank kept waiting.
If you defy that.
And the central banks kept waiting. They didn't see any local government account. So when it got to the point of paying the monthly allocations, the governor simply cited the Constitution, a section of the Constitution that says that there must be a joint account, the jack between the state and the local government. And until that section, that clause is removed from the Constitution, you can't hold anybody against it. So what did they do? They resorted paying to that same account. Controlled by who? By the governors. In fact, in my state, when Alex Otti became governor, you know what he did? He collected all the, we understand that he collected all the, what do you call it? This thing, the seal of all the 17 local government from the chairman and kept it in his house.
So how do you
no, when it is time for distribution, you come. And you now sign and he will seal and you go.
Oh, that is it.
So, and Sheyi Makinde said, no, this thing cannot happen. All the governors.
Immediately that judgment.
And you know what?
He was the first person that said.
Until you go to the Constitution, make that amendment, and now run, and you know what our constitutional amendment process, it also has to pass through the State House of Assembly. And we are looking at 26 states here. That is two-thirds. We tried it in 2021 or so, and it failed.
It failed, yes.
It failed.
Most of the
so that's why, and I hear a lawyer say on this table that, look, that the Supreme Court can amend sections of the Constitution by judgment. And I said, excuse me, where did you get this from? That means the Constitution is now subservient to the judgment of the court, which is not true. As far as my basic understanding of government, law and principles is concerned. So until the president goes to the National Assembly and says, gentlemen, please, I seek an amendment of this section so that local governments can become autonomous. And I don't like the fact that courts can say, look, local governments constitute a third tier of government. It's anti-federalism. It has never happened anywhere.
Okay, well, let's jump.
States should also be allowed to create the number of local governments that they wish.
Some states.
All states.
Lagos is
it shouldn't be.
Is doing that already.
Until you go to the Constitution and remove that clause, that is only the federal government.
Upon the amendment of the Constitution,
yes, states should be able to.
States that should determine the number of local government
they should have. Yes.
Oh well, let's touch on a few other headlines here. The tax laws. The Guardian report says new tax laws undermine tax system. Democracy. NLC warns FG. I know some call NLC Dr. Bag.
When did NLC? When did they understand that these laws undermine this? Why didn't they speak out?
There's another headline here. Tax law: 5 trillion naira VAT windfall for states as new formula begins. New tax law tilts VAT revenue towards states. LG's as FG's share drops to 922 billion naira. All right. And yes, that's that on the tax laws. I'd like for us to.
One thing we have to give to this president, this government, is that they've been able to devolve financial capabilities to the states.
Yeah.
Look at this: 5 trillion naira for the states to share. 5 trillion naira among 37 states. 36 plus Abuja. 5 trillion naira is a lot of money. Some of the governors that are very intentional, that are governance minded, that are value driven, in their deliverables, and are doing very well. I keep going back to Oyo State, where Bele, has interest in, and to Enugu State, where I also have interest in. I visited Enugu like 2 months ago, and I was pretty impressed with what the governor is doing and his promises, his campaign promises. He's fulfilling them. I talked about a certain motor park where I went to about 40-something years ago when I was traveling to go check my JAMB results, and that park remained like that till 2 years ago. In fact, till about a year ago, when he came, now brought down the park, the motor park, and built it into an ultra-modern motor park. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. And he just didn't do that park in about 4 or 5 places. He built smart schools. People are complaining, how could you build smart schools without smart teachers? But at least there are smart schools. He can now train smart teachers. He's doing a lot, paving the roads. When he was campaigning, he said he was going to do a certain 1,000 kilometers of roads. And people said, promises. He said, excuse me, what do you mean? That this thing is possible. And in 1 year, he did about 25-30% of what he promised. Rural roads.
So which means
he's doing it.
He will do 100%. Sometimes
he's getting more money.
Which means it's doable.
It's doable.
But a lot of the governors, what have they done with the subsidy money? What have they done with that? The money saved from subsidy.
Now that's the question.
Yes, and then you are adding this one to it.
5.7.
For a
I've
lot of
always
them.
said one thing,
This is excluding
that the
those that are
focus should
working.
not be on the federal government alone. Let's begin to interrogate how these governors spend their money.
Indeed.
I cannot place governor for your state side by side with my state governor.
Who is okay, Edetiwa.
Ayedatiwa.
You have
I cannot place them.
You have a Golden Gate now, the one that was built with 700 million.
That was stopped through public outcry.
Oh, you people didn't build it.
We didn't.
Oh, that is the cause of your problem now. How will big money come if you don't have a Golden Gate? Only 700 million. And in Lagos State, they said they built a House of Assembly complex with how much?
2.7
billion. And you people were just grappling with 700 million. Now, on our cause, on our problem.
Okay, no problem. we'll find solution to our problem in due course.
All right, as we coast home now, let's talk about insecurity. You know, I hate the fact that we have to talk about this all the time, but it's before us. And we just have to talk until we find a solution.
It's staring us in the face.
Until we find a solution to the problem. The issue of insecurity. Chief of Army Staff tours terror-ravaged Niger as bandits attack Old National Park in Oyo. And there are riders to that one. Promises enhanced troop deployment. UN urges Nigerian authorities to protect civilians, schools after new Niger attacks. State reviews schools reopening policy. All institutions in North Senatorial Zone to remain closed. Police foil kidnap attempt, rescue 76 children in Kaduna. Okay. 5 killed as bandits attack Oyo National Park. Armed herders kill 5 farmers in Benue.
You see, this calls for serious introspect. And one thing is clear here. It's like you saw a beehive and without protective jacket, you just attack that beehive. You are not likely to understand where bees will be coming to swarm around you. Now, the point is, these people had changed the modus operandi of their attack. They are no longer going to use cells where you can track them. How many forests are you going to bomb? Now, it is becoming more difficult because, like Chukuma said earlier in the previous program, you can't identify these people until they unleash terror. They go around, for instance, if somebody that is riding Okada is a terrorist, how do you identify him among the number of Okadas around your area? He could do surveillance without you knowing. And could come at any time without you preparing for him.
I think we're making excuses for these people because if our security agencies have been working, they would have planted moles in the terror groups.
That's what I'm saying.
That would feed them with information.
They should
right
now adopt another method. The method before now is to send Air Force jets to bomb the enclave. But where is the enclave you want to bomb now?
Now they don't even
requires local intelligence, it requires technology, and it requires proactive measures, not reactive measures. Now, even if you track down these killers of those men at the Oyo Park, is it going to bring back the lives of those that have been killed? No! You should be able to stop them in their track before they unleash this terror. That's the only game changer here.
You see, my position in all of this, if you talk about the responsibilities and the workings of the security agencies, if you sit closely with one or two people that are highly placed, in either the military or in SSS, and you listen to them, you understand that the problem is not lack of knowledge or lack of intelligence. The problem is we know what to do, but we don't want to do it. It's as simple as that. If the government is sincere in routing out these people, in a matter of months, they will all be cleared. They will all be cleared. But it is that, and I keep asking you, I keep asking Dele, and I ask Barrister Darlington, political will, where can we buy political will? Is there anywhere that they are selling it? Because that seems to be the major problem.
That's the major problem.
That seems to be the major problem. The government, the president, the governors have enormous amount of intelligence at their disposal.
That can be worked on.
Calculated and coordinated intelligence that when you take a decision, okay, just go do this. Does it surprise you that when probably a chief of someone that is highly placed in the police force or in the military or in government is kidnapped, in a matter of hours, that person is rescued, except in extreme cases where they are determined that they must kill that person, probably by true bomb blast or one helicopter crash and all of that. But the moment someone that is highly placed is kidnapped, they activate emergency response instantly and that person is rescued. So that tells you that they know the whereabouts, they know the movement of these people. Like they told us, they are monitoring them. So what are you doing with the monitor?
I wonder.
What are you doing with it? So any day that government decides to say, look,
enough is enough.
Enough is enough. And something will be done with all of this.
All right, let's go back to Rivers State. We have 1 minute, really. 1 minute. So I'm just going to put this information out there, and then you can react if you can in 1 minute. Wike Fubara is an ungrateful child. Declares Rainbow Coalition will produce all elective positions. Now, let me quickly read up on this one. Now, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has scolded Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara, describing him as a bad child who lacks gratitude. And Wike declared that his Rainbow Coalition will produce all elective positions in the state come 2027. And you ask yourself, what is the Rainbow Coalition all about? He says the Rainbow Coalition is his APC and PDP working together to produce winners in an election. That's his Rainbow Coalition. His loyalists in the APC won 20 local governments out of the 23 in the state, while PDP was also to win just 3 local governments. So basically, according to this, he still has the structure.
Well,
both in APC and PDP.
The sharing formula will decide what will happen in the River State.
You don't think his Rainbow Coalition?
What is Rainbow Coalition?
I like
the time. You see, whatever PK is able to achieve here is dependent on the body language and the actions
of the president.
Nothing more.
No, well, I think so too. But he also said, based on my understanding of who the president is, he's not just going to discard Wike just like that, because you also understand that no matter how little, no matter how infinitesimal, Wike might just be able to cause small damage. And that small damage, if it is
what
not...
the president doesn't want.
Yes.
He doesn't want any form of damage.
That small damage, if it's not...
But he's not going to sacrifice Fubara.
If it's not clearly handled, could also spiral.
He's not going to sacrifice Fubara. I tell you.
Fubara wants a second term.
He will get.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
So I think what the president will clearly do is to ensure that Wike and Fubara work in harmony. Anyhow he is going to achieve that, he will do that. Like he is trying to do, or he has done, between Sanwo-Olu and what's his name? Obasa.
What if Siminalayi gets a second term and then the courts take him out?
Which courts?
Which court?
The courts.
Which courts?
Maybe ICC.
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court that is answerable to the president.
It could be the president.
No, maybe
except you are telling except Fubara gets a second term and the president doesn't get a second term.
That is it. That is it. And it's not going to be, Wike is not going to be influential in that administration because he stands in opposition.
No, even let's even say that the president wins. Do you think that Wike will be influential in the second term?
He's not going to, because he would have concluded his assignment. He's just a consultant.
They might just
finish your job.
They might just
you hand over to the owner.
They might just make him an ambassador. Go to Russia and bring vodka and all of it. Since he likes.
You said that.
You heard me say it.
Well, that's it on the show. Big thanks to Daily Fanimo for his contribution. Chukwumakoro, who makes a comeback later tonight at 6 p.m. on Political Lens.
Yes, on Political Lens. And I'll be joined by Prince Kasim Afubua, the Commissioner for Information in Edo State. And we are going to interrogate what is going on in Edo State in terms of building up the economy, democracy, and citizens' rights in Edo State. Join us there, and it promises to be quite interesting.
Well, there you have it. That's it on the show. I'm Moses Humphrey. I'll see you next time. Sports comes up next. Bye for now.
VOP TV. Now, you have more than a voice.
This is African News on Voice of the People Television, where we don't just bring you the news, we bring you Africa's heartbeats, the policies that shapes our world, and the economy that determines our future. African News on Voice of the People Television. Stay with us. Behind every broken desk lies a broken promise. Education shapes the nations. But who is asking the right questions? Introducing Edu Dialogue, the show that goes beyond the surface, exposes the cracks, the corruption, and the